investment trends brought to you courtesy of the Zambia Development Agency and ZNBC. The Zambia Development Agency recently unveiled its new logo and changed its strategic focus in order to position itself as more responsive to the economic dynamics and development needs of the country. Today in the studio, I'm privileged to host the Acting Director General of the Zambia Development Agency, ZDA, Mr. Mukula Makasa, who will tell us more about the ZDA's new strategic focus. Sir, it's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you, Hezron.
Great, and congratulations on your unveiling of the new brand to the public, and I'm sure that people will be very expectant to what the rebranded ZDA will have to offer. So what is it that you are offering in this new strategic plan?
Well, first and foremost, we've re-engineered our strategy and aligned it to fit to the prevailing economic circumstances and addressing the structural constraints that the private sector is facing at the moment. So we now have a strategy which is focusing on MSME growth. And what we're doing is we are helping MSMEs, smallholder farmers and cooperatives with mindset change. We're helping them to re-engineer their business models, the business planning, and then incubating them, of course, supporting them with product development, and then also fostering business linkages, which includes access to capital, business financing, which is very critical and important for any business, and then also fostering backward and forward linkages, including facilitating the vertical and horizontal linkages within the supply chains and value chains.
When we look at your strategic focus, someone will want to know, what is the immediate focus?
So in addition to MSME growth, we're also promoting reinvestment and also fostering foreign direct investment, but targeted, particularly in the priority sectors which government has outlined. And we are also promoting the N8+1 export strategy, which seeks to target all our neighboring countries, the 8 countries, plus 1, which includes South Africa. And then we are also enhancing our policy influence. As you may be aware, ZDA is the interface between the private sector and government. So we get feedback from the private sector in terms of their challenges, their constraints, and then try to figure out some solutions to mitigate those challenges and make recommendations to government to come up with policy prescriptions which will leverage economic opportunities in order to grow the private sector. So this is our strategic focus now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's look at your strategic objectives.
Mm-hmm. Well, in terms of the objectives, the first objective is to enhance service delivery. The second one is to enhance stakeholder engagement, which is very critical because we need partnerships. We need partnerships with the private sector, with cooperating partners, with various public institutions in order to enhance our service delivery. And the third one is to improve our processes and systems, and also to expand our financial base. And the fifth one is to deepen the various interactions on the marketplace.
Let's look at the 7th National Development Plan, mm-hmm. and how ZDA is aligning itself.
Well, if you look at the 5 pillars within the 7th National Development Plan, the first one is economic diversification and job creation. But if you look at the ZDA mandate, is to promote trade and investment and to facilitate enterprise development. So what that mandate does, it sort of accelerates industrialization. And once you talk about industrialization, the drive of industrialization is to diversify the economy. Mm. So that's the link between our mandate and the first pillar of the 7th National Development Plan. The second pillar is poverty and vulnerability reduction. So if you diversify the economy and you create jobs, you're actually reducing poverty and vulnerability. And then the third pillar is reducing developmental inequalities. So if you create jobs, you're actually reducing developmental inequalities. Now, the fourth one is enhancing human development. So in the process of diversifying the economy, you're actually industrializing, you're enhancing capacity of the MSMEs, and you're also enhancing the capacity of the various actors within the industrial chain. So what that means is you are enhancing human development. And then the fifth pillar is creating a conducive governance environment which would lead to inclusive growth and diversification. So because of enhancing our policy influence, we find that we contribute to enhancing the governance environment, which leads to inclusive growth and diversification. So those are the policy linkages of our mandate and the 7th National Development Plan.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. But let's look at the impact of COVID-19. It's undeniable that it has ravaged most economies. World economies have been impacted negatively. And of course, Zambia has not been spared. What is ADA doing to address the impact of COVID-19?
Well, as you may be aware, Hezron, COVID-19 has caused severe disruption of value chains and supply chains, domestically, regionally, and even globally. But be as it may be, COVID, as far as ZDA is concerned, has also created opportunities. It has opened up doors that were closed. See what has happened as a result of COVID, the disruptions that have been caused in the region and globally. We are actually facing challenges with imports. So you find that some of these retail and wholesale chains, they've got limited stock. And so that has created an opening for domestic production. Awesome. So what we are actually preoccupied with right now as an agency, and we're in responding to the presidential directive of supporting MSMEs and smallholder farmers to supply the wholesale and retail chains, we're actually working round the clock to make sure that we enhance their capacity to fill those gaps that have been created by the import challenges. And so this has created an opportunity, it has spawned actually an opportunity for import substitution. But it has also created an opportunity for export, because those business enterprises that are being integrated into the domestic supply chains, once they become viable and sustainable within the domestic supply chains, it creates an opportunity for export, because some of these multinational or rather transnational corporations that have invested in the retail and wholesale chains, instead of their logistic infrastructure returning the backload empty, some of them have an opportunity to carry goods back to their base and the other countries where they're operating from. But not only that, we are also, of course, enhancing our N8 +1 export strategy. We're building on that. So we are enhancing export readiness capacity of MSMEs, cooperatives, and even other business enterprises, so that we can grow our non-traditional exports.
Beautiful. Let's look at the mechanisms you are planning to employ. This is to foster growth in among the local enterprises.
Can you come again?
I'm looking at what specific mechanisms have you put in place to foster growth among the local entrepreneurs, enterprise?
Okay, we've got entrepreneurship development of skills. What we are doing is first and foremost, we help out with business ideation. We help them how to start a business. We also help them how to improve a business. And last but not the least, to expand the business. But most importantly, after they are established and they are integrated into domestic supply chains and even export chains, we sort of also help them to get to another level, because most of them, they get stuck as MSMEs. So our preoccupation right now is to also help them graduate, to become large enterprises, because no economy can grow by maintaining its businesses as MSMEs. We want them to graduate so that they can also profoundly contribute to economic growth. But most importantly, you know, you can also expand the revenue base and create broad-based economic growth, which is also inclusive growth, if you may like.
Earlier we did discuss behind the scene on the need for you know, citizens and the government also to grow the tax you know, tax base so that more people contribute to the treasury, and you did emphasize the fact that enterprise is the way to go. But of course, when you mention that only 10% is in the formal sector and we have 90% out there that you need to capture, that looks like a lot of work for your agency. I would like to see how you are tapping in and you know, trying to make sure that you maximize on these numbers, because if we can only even just have a minimum of 20%, 30% actively contributing, we may reduce the burden of the 10%.
Actually, when you look at the structure of our economy, you're right. We have almost an informal sector of 90% and 10% informal sector. So if you look at the strategic thrust of the 7th National Development Plan is to accelerate development efforts towards Vision 2030. By 2030, government is targeting to transition our economy into a middle-income economy, not only middle income, but to be industrialized. Now, what that means is we need to intervene among the 90% with mindset change, to incentivize formalization, to help them with, to know about business, how to generate business ideas, how to start a business, how to improve the business, how to expand the business, and also with, for instance, there's another module which aims at transforming the mindset of those business enterprises which are stagnant or stunted at a certain level among MSMEs, so that they can make that leap into a large enterprise. That's very fundamental. Now, we're also supporting them with what you call business linkages. And these business linkages are aimed at fostering, transition into the domestic supply chains or for the formal markets, and also access to capital. Awesome. That's very crucial. Affordable capital. On Monday, we signed a deal with DBZ, which will help with accessing medium to long-term affordable capital. What we are also doing is we're also working with a lot of government programs such as Zambia Agribusiness Trade Project, which is helping most of our MSMEs and cooperatives access affordable equity capital. And then we also have a working relationship with accelerated growth for SMEs. It's a program, a partnership with the government of Finland, which is supporting MSMEs to accelerate their growth. We're also working with International Trade Center, ITC. They're helping us with joint ventures and accelerated trade with China. It's a program called PIGA, Partnership for Investment and Growth in Africa. Awesome. So there's a lot going on out there, and we're also working very closely with our sister agency, or rather commissions, Citizens Economic Empowerment Commission. For instance, they are running with the aquaculture program, which is funded by the African Development Bank in partnership with the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock, and also the cassava commercialization program. As you may be aware, there are about 350,000 households in the rural areas that are now on the cassava program. Beautiful. And the idea is to scale up production and to make sure that we can contribute towards the diversification of agriculture. Because as you may be aware, agriculture in this country is largely maize dominated, but we're trying to reduce the dependence on maize, so that even the other subsectors can also contribute to the GDP of the country. And one of them is cassava, aquaculture, cashew nuts. CC is also working on that one. And one of the things that we're doing is we're helping to mobilize smallholder farmers into cooperatives and to get them accessing to these opportunities. And so if you're a youth out there, it's not the end of the world. There are all these opportunities in aquaculture, cassava production, your cashew nut production. You can even start adding value to the cashew nuts. We have a young man, he runs a company called Diamond Enterprise. He's now supplying cashew nuts, even processed, cashew nut butter, cashew nuts processed into game stores and even ShopRite. So that's awesome. And some of these youth, they're winning bigly. They're scoring, and yeah.
I love the way you
Yeah.
I love the way you just articulated bigly, the winning bigly. This is awesome. Now, I know that ZDA thrives on ensuring that stakeholders who come to your to do business with you, even in entrepreneurs and enterprises like small and medium enterprises, they are also impacted with training. I'd like to find out from you, Mr. Makasa, is there any training that we should look out for the agency setting up in time soon?
Yeah, I mean, I know COVID has disrupted a number of our programs, but what we're doing is we are conducting virtual programs. We have business-to-business meetings, but we are also rolling out trainings under the the enhanced integrated framework program, which is under the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, funded by the EU. So what we're doing is we're going around enhancing capacity of cooperatives in, first and foremost, in entrepreneurship. We're facilitating even business linkages and so forth. But we're also helping out with the business planning, which is very critical, because in order to enhance the investment capacity of your enterprise, you need to undergo through some business planning training, mentorship actually. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's mentorship. it's the
Very
cardinal
crucial.
word there.
Very crucial.
Yeah. You may just give us your concluding remarks. I'm happy that we've got some events that we should look out for. Maybe you can give me some your concluding remarks.
Though we in October, around October 26 and 28, we're going to have the Import-Export Expo. It will be held here in Lusaka, but it will be virtual, to be online, where businesses across the region and the continent will be transacting online. So there'll be a lot of B2B opportunities. So if you're a business enterprise out there, you're ambitious, your destination should be ZDA. Come and register. We'll get you on board on this conference. In 2 weeks' time, God willing, there's a very innovative investment that has been put, or rather established on the copper belt in Chingola. It will be commissioned, and we hope the president will come and commission that one. It's a copper processing and cable manufacturing venture. They'll be manufacturing cables for both the domestic and export market. We've been talking about, or rather crying as a country, oh no, we just extract copper and process it into cathodes and export it. But now we have investment, impact investment, which will be processing and manufacturing cables for export.
Some good news there.
This is awesome. In Chingola, despite the challenges with KCM, but we now have a very good story coming out of Chingola. Another one, the same investor is investing in processing of avocados into oil, and then they'll be manufacturing even cosmetics and other byproducts.
Beautiful.
So this is a very special investment because it's creating opportunities for our small-scale miners and even those youths who have sites on the slag, or rather the Black Mountains. They'll be able to supply...
The famous Black Mountains.
Exactly. They'll be able to supply slag to this company. It's called Rudra Copper Limited. And so they will have business opportunities, and we'll be working closely with them to foster those backward and forward linkages, including the small holder farmers that will be growing avocados, which they'll be supplying to Rudra for processing, and we will organize the smallholder farmers into cooperatives across Copper Belt. So there is light at the end of the tunnel on the Copper Belt through such impact investment ventures.
That's awesome.
So all roads will lead to that, and so we look forward to the president and my Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, and probably his counterpart from the Ministry of Mines and even, I think, even Finance, so that they can see where the revenue will be coming from and the exports, the foreign exchange will be coming from, to contribute to the economic turnaround post-COVID and even before the end of COVID.
What's interesting with Rudra Copper Mining Limited is the fact that it's impacting the community.
Exactly.
It's going to engage the community to feed into its system, which is very, very good. And of course, Rudra were here, and they did share with us about their plans and their investment plans. We look forward to having a good one after the actual launch, and of course, probably we can have Mr. Patel here to just share more on that. Just last, I know you were giving me your last your last comments there, but of course I just want to follow up on one that you mentioned, which is the need for citizens to participate in the contributing to the tax base of the country. I know that we have a lot of entrepreneurs around, but it's more or less like we have people doing business, but they don't get to contribute to the treasury. I don't know what strategies you are putting in place to ensure that we have a base where entrepreneurs, enterprises can pay something towards the treasury to contribute.
Well, one of the things that we're doing, as you may be aware, is we're trying to incentivize formalization, because you see, it's difficult to force people to pay tax, but the smartest way of doing it is to incentivize. And so one of the things that we're trying to do is there are some non-fiscal incentive measures that we are dangling to the informal sector. You know, for instance, like access to affordable capital. You know, the National Savings Credit Bank, NatSave, has expanded its capital base and will be extending its lines of credit to marketeers and other traders. And so there's that opportunity as part of the stimulus package which government has put in place. And so for them to access that, they need to formalize, have bank accounts, formalize, get registered with PACRA. You know, I think we're actually helping them aggregate them into cooperatives. So, and for them to access those resources, they'll be formalized, and so they'll be contributing some tax, though meager. You know, you're looking at 4%, but it will go a long way in broadening the tax base, and I think it will also help the country surge or move forward.
Awesome. I needed that point.
Yeah.
Well, this has been Investment Trains that I've been hosting the Acting Director General, Mr. Mukula Makasa, for Zambia Development Agency, shedding more light on their strategic focus, which is their strategic goals. Well, I've been your host, Hezron Ngosa. See you, and God bless you.